But first, today we saw how we've been lied to. Hamas released the first 3 Jewish hostages it's been holding since it attacked Israel 471 days ago. And now we know how we've been lied to by almost everyone. Hamas, the media, anti-Israel activists, the UN, our government, even Israel. And we also know that Donald Trump, who's taking the credit for this hostage deal ahead of his inauguration tonight, may in fact have just sown the seeds for more slaughter. Because Hamas lives. Hamas says it's won. And worse, Hamas still rules in Gaza. Now, our politicians told us they wouldn't let that happen. But today we saw they have. Israel is betrayed, and so too any Palestinians who want democracy at last. Of course, the media is today full of moving pictures of the release of the 3 Jewish women, all civilians, one who'd had 2 of her fingers shot off by Hamas when they attacked her kibbutz. But now they are safe at last. Yes. So that's wonderful. Just 95 or so hostages to go, although a third of them are believed to be dead. But this release, yes, that's the good part, but it's the only good part of this ceasefire deal with Hamas. And I say that not just because that in return, Israel must, over the next 6 weeks, in exchange for 33 of the Jewish hostages, release up to 2,000 Palestinians, including murderers and terrorists. I mean, release terrorists including Zakaria Zubeidi, whose many terror attacks on Israel include a bombing that killed 6 people. And Mahmoud Abu Wada, who murdered 45 people when he blew up a bus in Jerusalem. And Mahmoud Attallah, who murdered a Palestinian woman he accused of cooperating with Israel. Now let's say only half these freed Palestinians, 1,000, are terrorists or sympathisers from Hamas or other terrorist groups. That's still 1,000 recruits to resume the jihad against Israel. And it's a reward for Hamas taking hostages in their October 7 attack and an incentive to take more next time. Hamas and its supporters in Gaza were even saying exactly that on Hamas television today.
واللي ما له أسير ما له كرامة 65 حفيد عندي و17 ولد والله إني بفديهم لأجل فلسطين والأقصى.
And no wonder Hamas leaders say they've now won. It doesn't matter to them that Gaza is in ruins because of the war they started, and it doesn't matter to them that tens of thousands of Palestinians are dead. What matters is that they have killed Jews, and they will again when they can, as one Hamas leader has just openly said.
ونقول لهم ولشعبنا ربح البيع قادتنا وشهداءنا ربح البيع بإذن الله وستستمر آثار هذه المعركة ولن تتوقف بإذن الله بانتهاء هذه المعركة وما حدث في 7 من أكتوبر من إعجاز وإنجاز عسكري.
But I said we've been lied to. Let me now show you the footage from today of the release of those 3 hostages that exposes those lies. First, look at the celebrations by Palestinians in Gaza. A lot of nice haircuts, by the way, a lot of well-fed people. But didn't journalists and the UN officials, United Nations officials, actually claim Israel had committed genocide there? That Israel was deliberately starving Palestinians to death? Arrest warrants for the Prime Minister? This is the first war I know of where supposed victims of genocide look so healthy and claim they actually won. Then look from where the Hamas gunmen emerged. One standing on a Red Cross vehicle like he owned it, happy to use it as cover. And outside the Nasser Medical Complex in Gaza, the big building behind them, the building Hamas once fought from, and which we were told was destroyed by Israel. Destroyed, and with mass graves outside, said our ABC in the United Nations. Another fake Israeli war crime. We were also told by our government and anti-Israel activists that the Hamas terrorist group, which controls Gaza, doesn't represent Palestinians there. The Albanese government was so sure of that it gave 3,000 tourist visas to Palestinians from Gaza last year without any real security checks on them. Yet look today, how the crowds in Gaza mobbed the convoy taking these 3 young women back to freedom, threatening the women, abusing them, celebrating the Hamas gunmen and claiming victory. The women even had to walk past a huge phalanx of Hamas gunmen to get to the Red Cross, one final act of mass intimidation. And in the streets, there rang a chant to kill the Jews, Kaiba Kaiba Ya Yahud, a popular warning to Jews that the armies of Islam will slaughter them again, as they were slaughtered at the Battle of Kaiba 1400 years ago. Hamas even posted a slick propaganda video of its gunmen releasing the 3 women and making the Red Cross sign for them, just to show who's large and in charge in Gaza. It is Hamas. Now, we were promised Hamas would never be allowed to run Gaza under any deal, that they didn't represent Palestinians at all.
Hamas can play no role. This is an organisation that is the enemy, not just of Israel, but the enemy of the interests of the Palestinian people.
And meanwhile, Israel told us it had virtually destroyed Hamas. Really? Yet we now see Hamas gunmen everywhere almost, making a ceasefire deal, making the Red Cross sign for the female hostages, parading the streets, being celebrated by Palestinians. So who now is going to go in and disarm Hamas, take away its power? I mean, it's diminished power, but it's still there. Under this ceasefire deal that Trump forced on Israel, Israeli troops can't do it. They've got to pull back to near the border with Israel. So who will stop Hamas gunmen from now taking power in Gaza back again? Albanese hasn't put up his hand. Donald Trump hasn't. Trump just wanted this deal done in time for his inauguration. Make Trump great again. If it doesn't make Israel safe, so sad. So here we are. Hamas is still the power in Gaza as Israel pulls out. Gaza, destroyed by its war, will now be rebuilt with our money, the money of the West. And Israel, stopped by the West from winning a complete victory in Gaza, must now wait for the next war. Wonderful that 3 hostages have been released, but at what terrible price?